Greetings and salutations. Welcome to another episode of 365 Days of Gaming. I really appreciate you taking out time to check out this video. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Much appreciated in advance. But let's get into it. So today, we're going back to the 90s. As a kid born in the late 80s, pretty much the majority of my childhood revolves around the 90s and 90s based things. And no cartoon represents the 90s more so than The Simpsons. And they had a bunch of games. And I'm not going to talk about every one of them. And I'm also probably not going to talk about Hit and Run, because that's too easy. Everybody knows how good that game is. Even if it's just a Simpsons GTA clone, it's still up there. I'm going to talk to you about a game that I consider one of the best rentals during this time. I'm talking about Bart's Nightmare. Now, what makes Bart's Nightmare such a good rental, in my opinion, is the fact that the game is just a bunch of smaller, shorter games in one. I love those type of variety pack games where there's an overarching theme. In this case, Bart has got some homework he's supposed to be doing, and then he kind of goes to sleep. And in this dream world, he's got to get all the pages of his homework collected before he wakes up. Otherwise, he's going to fail this report, this test, whatever it's supposed to be. So you start the game, you fall down, and the game doesn't tell you a lot about what you're supposed to do. Which back in the day sucked a lot because there was no internet. So trying to figure out what you could and couldn't do in this game was just a matter of trial and error. And you can lose really fast. You have like this Z counter, which you can increase by blowing bubbles at the Z's, which took me a long time to remember. But you basically look for these papers. And when you find the papers, you get two doors you can go into. And based on the colors of the door, that tells you what mini game you will be playing. So like my favorite was always like the Bart Godzilla thing, which was very hard to beat, but also still really fun because you're playing a giant version of Bart Simpson. And then in the end, you go against King Kong Homer. Then you also have the things where you play as the trying to get rid of like the germs. I'm assuming this is what this is supposed to be. I don't know what type of assignment he was assigned, but he's doing a little bit of everything. He's got an Indiana Jones level. He's got a Flying Bartman level, which is by far my favorite one because it's basically a space shooter. And it was always the first one I could figure out how to beat without, needing to start over so many times. Now I will say, because in order to get an A, you have to basically beat every mini game without dying during the sequences where you fly around, where you're walking around in Dream World, which can be, it's easier said than done, but it is possible. I've seen people around my way get pretty good grades on there, a B+ here and there. I've never seen an actual A without the use of some technology advancements, but that doesn't matter. The game it's simple. It's got, if you're a fan of The Simpsons, so many callbacks, even though they're like distorted versions. And, you got the Red Baron, Mr. Burns. You got a poo on the flying carpet, which is, it's a little questionable, but you get it. But then you have things like if you get turned into the frog, the old lady will blow you a kiss and that'll turn you back to a boy. Takes the princess to turn the frog into a prince, I guess. And then, you have the other different mini games that you can unlock and play. And like I said, my favorite was always the Bartman one or the Godzilla one. The Indiana Jones one was really tough because you basically have to figure out the pattern that you have to take. There's a couple of other ones that I was not able to unlock because I know you have to beat certain ones to get the other ones to show up. And it's also random to a degree too. But eventually, if you do all of the assignments correctly and you collect all the pages, you get an A. So it's not like the ending was going to be some, super cool episode of The Simpsons you got to watch on your SNES. It wasn't about that. It's, if you like The Simpsons, you're gonna recognize all the things that show up, right? And then when you're playing the game, you're gonna recognize all of the different things that they put in. Like you can get on the skateboard. If you hit the musical note, it'll actually reverse your controls. You got the TV walking around. Like there's all these little things that show up that may or may not be directly from the show. Like you can see the house in the background, right? Then you gotta do some trial and error. Like I said, it's not the easiest of games, but I'm going to do a couple more of these Simpson games. And again, I'm probably not going to do Hit and Run, but each of the Simpson games that I show you, one thing they're going to have in common is that none of them are easy. That was the other thing about the Simpsons games back in the day. It was like, this is cool, this is neat, this has some sort of callbacks to the show, but also these are extremely difficult. Even with the advances in, let's say, if you were to download it and you had use save states. It doesn't make the game any easier. Now, I didn't do that for this video, but I'm just trying to let you know that there's no way to make this game easy. You're gonna have to sweat it out, you're gonna have to grind it out. But that's why it's a great rental. That's why I say it's one of the best rentals back then, because you could get this game, you might have forgot the last time you played about certain stuff, so that first hour or two is gonna be trying to remember exactly what to do. And then you just start kind of trying to grind it out. You got to have that perfect run where you're just hitting it. You're hitting on all cylinders and you're knocking out each of the mini games. And for me, that never happened. I think I pulled out a solid B- one time where I knocked out like 4 of the mini games. But for the most part, it's more about just fun, just looking at everything and trying to see, which ones you can get. And I always enjoyed most of the Simpsons games. There's another one that I'm going to do a video on later about the Game Boy one, which that one, Camp Krusty, that's extra difficult. But if you ever rented this game, what was your favorite mini game? If you haven't and you are a fan of the Simpsons, I invite you to try this game. Again, not sure how you're going to play it other than acquiring it through some internet-based means, but you do what you got to do. As always, appreciate you watching the video. Have fun, be safe. Peace.